Dr. Angela Mazza, a thyroid, endocrine, and metabolism specialist with an integrated practice here in Central Florida. As our listeners know, my goal for this podcast is to define and demystify the thyroid gland and thyroid-related medical conditions. By providing information in easy to understand format, I hope to help patients better understand the ways in which their bodies work and help them thrive. Dawn Sheffield, my friend and co-host,
an exceptionally lucky patient,
is here with me again for today's episode. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. And you know what? I am always glad to be here, as you know, but especially today.
Yeah.
Because we have a very interesting and insightful guest, and I'm very excited about it.
That's right. Today we have the privilege of talking with Jennifer Sierra, LMHC. She's a licensed mental health counselor in Orlando, Florida. We asked Jennifer to be on the show today because, like us, she is very interested in mental health and in the ways that the thyroid health and mental health are so connected. So Jennifer, welcome. I'm so very glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I am happy to be here, and I want to thank you for what you're doing here. It's such a great resource for people, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. And Jennifer, this is my co-host, Dawn.
Hello, Jennifer. And it is just such a pleasure to meet you. I have so enjoyed learning about how you help folks to live our best lives. So thank you for that.
So Jennifer and I both discovered that we have a deep interest in increasing awareness about a holistic approach to thyroid health that includes mental health as well. Mental health and physical health go hand in hand, and our thyroid's part of that. So which is why we asked you to be with us here today. So Jennifer, as I said, we're delighted to have you here with us. We are excited to better acquaint our listeners with your crucial work with mental health counseling. As I said earlier, Jennifer is a licensed mental health therapist, and she owns Holistic Mental Health Counseling in Orlando, Florida. We have so much we'd like to discuss with you today, Jennifer. So we'd like to dive right in and start asking some questions. Is that okay with you?
Sounds good. Absolutely.
Jen, will you explain to our listeners the education and training you had to complete to earn the licensed mental health counselor, or LMHC?
Sure. So I earned my master's degree in counseling and psychology from an accredited program, and that included 1,000 hours of supervised clinical practicum.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that seems like a big number. Yeah.
And then from there, I registered as an intern with the Florida Board of Social Work and completed 1,500 hours of direct client therapy under supervision. And then I had to sit for the National Clinical Mental Health Counseling examination. That's administered by the National Board for Certified Counselors. And I passed, and I submitted my application to the Florida Board, and they granted me my license.
Well, it sounds like a pretty thorough certification process.
Yes, it certainly does. My goodness.
Absolutely. Yes, it was a long road.
Jennifer, I believe you have to also complete continuing education requirements to keep your license to practice current. Is that also correct?
Yes, I do. There are 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years that I have to complete. And as part of that, I complete at least 12 hours in integrative approaches, and that helps me stay up to date with the latest research.
So do you prefer the term therapist or counselor? Is there a real difference, or is there one that's preferred in general?
I don't have a preference. They tend to be used interchangeably. So I don't have a preference. And, for people that are out there searching for someone, I think what matters most is just finding someone who has the experience with what they're going through, and that feels like a good fit.
I was curious about how you became interested in serving as a mental health therapist or counselor.
I'm naturally a very curious person. I care deeply about others. I love getting to know people and learning about their life stories. And, I believe that everyone has strengths and unique wisdom that they carry with them. So being a therapist seemed like a natural fit. I love what I do. And I think it's just an incredible honor to be able to sit with people and sometimes help them find strength and wisdom in their story when they can't see it for themselves.
And it's a tremendous amount of trust that someone puts in your hands too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just kind of want to point out that, in medical school, we don't get a whole lot of training in mental health. I mean, I think maybe we had one course on it. And yeah, we know how to prescribe medicines, but we don't get like into, and I don't think things have changed too much in med school on that front. So we might be able to prescribe like a pill for medicine for depression or anxiety. But we don't really have the skill set that someone like you have to really sit down and talk to a patient about mental health. So seeing a licensed mental health counselor, I think is huge. And I think it's invaluable to a patient because our mental health is so tied into our overall health and things like stress, they impact our health so much. So seeing someone like you, I think is so valuable and life altering in a really, really positive way. So you picked a great field. So how do you define mental health? I know I just used it a couple of times. What do we mean when we're talking about mental health and mental illness? If you could kind of like, is there is a different term that's better than mental illness?
I don't really think there's a better term for mental illness. I think it's, important to be able to use that term because that's part of breaking the stigma.
Right.
And mental health, I would say, is just your ability to function well, um, your emotional health, and your ability to cope with everyday stress.
Yeah, and stress is huge. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's removing the stigma of having of mental health and mental illness being something that's bad. It's just like anything else. It's part of our health.
Exactly.
Just going back to a previous thing you said when you mentioned that everyone carries with them a unique wisdom. I thought that was great. Um, I'm just wondering how we might know where we are on that continuum of mental health, mental illness, mental health. How do we know where we are in your practice, I guess, at any given time? How can we tell where we are?
I think a great way to think about that is just what is normal for you.
Right.
So mental health for you is going to look very different than for somebody else. So if you're noticing any changes in your mood or you're feeling like you don't want to socialize anymore, or any changes in your sleep or appetite, that's a good way of seeing if there's something going on with you. And the same for loved ones, noticing any changes in behavior, irritability, or isolation. If you do see that, not being afraid to ask, hey, how are you doing? I'm noticing some changes. But the key is really paying attention to what's different for you or for that person, not necessarily, comparing them to like a textbook definition, because it really does look different for everyone.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, and I think that keeping it's like keeping tabs on yourself. How are you
Yeah.
doing? What's going on? Like what's different? What's better? What might be worse? And symptoms are rarely what we expect them to be, I'm thinking. So, and as you mentioned, they're different for every single person. Do you think like that's how people determine, hey, there's something going on. Maybe I should get some help. Maybe I need to talk about this, what's going on. Is that something that people tend to say, wake up one day and say, you know what, I think I need help with this? Or is it something they tend to brew on for a while and
It is a slow process, and I think um, definitely what helps with that is being open about mental health with the people that are closest to you so that you're able to have those conversations regularly and you can notice those changes in yourself. And then your loved ones can pick up on those shifts and not be afraid to let you know. It can take a while because, it doesn't happen overnight. So um, sometimes it'll take somebody in your life noticing and bringing it to your
point it out?
attention before you reach out to get help.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just everyday stress,
Yeah.
it adds up. And sometimes, big things happen and people get overwhelmed and they reach out.
One of the things we've talked about too, Jennifer, is how therapies can differ amongst people. And so one of the things that I know is that a whole lot of folks like horses, and I was so delighted to see that you are working toward an equine therapy program. And I think a lot of people would be really attracted to that. A lot of your
So
patients.
cool.
I was just blown away by that. And I think, are you still working on your certification for that right now? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I am working on my certification. Several actually. I did complete one, but it's something that I'm still in the early stages as far as exploring how to incorporate equine therapy in my practice. But how I got into that was through my volunteer work at First Nature Foundation. They have an equine leadership program that helps teens and veterans, and it became a really big part of my life. It became my happy place, a big part of my self-care, and then I got to witness just how impactful the program was for the participants, and I fell in love. It was my first experience with horses. I didn't grow up with a horse in my life, and I think horses, they just have an incredible ability to help people to be grounded in the present, and they can help people connect with themselves and others on a really deep level. We can learn a lot about healthy relationships from horses, and the program definitely inspired me to pursue my equine therapy certification. And right now I am just soaking it all in, meeting amazing people in the field, and my hope is to eventually offer workshops in the community so I can share horses and equine therapy with everyone. But yeah, right now I'm just focused on being really thoughtful about how I'm going to develop something really special to serve the community.
That is so cool. I can't believe that you didn't really have grow up with horses, or
No,
I assumed
I did
that.
too. I
no,
absolutely
yeah,
did. Yes.
they're amazing.
Yeah, they
No.
have like such a calming, knowing presence, don't they?
They do, and I met three horses, oddly enough, recently.
Three horses.
Three,
Oh, wow.
a friend of mine has three horses, and I had not been around horses since I was a child. And I really had forgotten.
They're
They
beautiful.
are beautiful and huge. And you're right. We all just approached each other with
Yeah, like
respect, and we were.
they said, "Hey,
Oh,
Dawn,
they did, and
I
I
feel like
said,
I'm the
"Hey."
third horse you call
I
this week."
It was, I'm not gonna go there. It was a wonderful experience, and really, it was really awe-inspiring.
Yeah,
So there you
very
go.
calming.
Congratulations on that.
That is
Thank
awesome.
you.
You have to keep us posted on your
Please.
I
certification.
will. I will for sure.
Now, I know you're very interested in like the thyroid's connection to mental health as well. Do you see a disproportionate large number of thyroid patients in your practice that you take care of?
I haven't seen like a large number of thyroid patients in my practice specifically, but I absolutely understand, how widespread thyroid issues are and their connection to mental health. And I actually learned a lot about that through my own wellness journey and my thyroid health. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about integrative health. I encourage all of my clients to get comprehensive thyroid
Oh,
testing,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
at the start. And honestly, your book has been a tremendous resource, Thyroid Talk. And I
Oh,
even
thanks,
use
Jen.
the letter that you put together that has all the specific labs, and I give that to all my clients. It's amazing. And I have them take it to their doctor, and that's been really helpful for them to get that testing that they need.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, the brain is rich in thyroid receptors. So that's why we see, it's important for persons who are dealing with any sort of mental health issue to get screened for thyroid. So that you're doing a great service there, Jen, that's for sure.
Thank you.
And Jen, this we may have just covered that, but I'm curious about what types of mental health problems might be more associated with a malfunctioning thyroid.
Well, I definitely know that Dr. Mazza could answer that probably a lot better than I can. But from what I see clinically, some of those symptoms would be brain fog, heart palpitations, difficulty concentrating, mood changes, anxiety, depression. It could be tricky because, these are the same symptoms that look very similar to what we typically see in mental health, making it kind of hard to distinguish. But this is why I do a lot of education and refer my clients at the beginning of treatment to make sure they're getting their wellness checks to look for any type of underlying medical condition.
Well, I had an epic moment of brain fog earlier today, which I'm still astonished about. I it was profound. So yes, anyone with brain fog, I understand completely. And this may be also, Jen, a conversation we can have with Dr. Mazza too. But do we understand the mechanisms by which mental health issues can be connected to thyroid health?
Yeah, I mean, like there's kind of it's a combination, and a lot of it has to do with
And the overlap, like
the
you
overlap.
mentioned. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And believe it or not, the brain actually gets inflamed when we're dealing with brain fog.
Mm.
Because especially with Hashimoto thyroiditis, when antibodies are high, that means inflammation is high and our brain's inflamed. So
I'm going to be using this as I have Hashi, and I'll be using that as my excuse from now on. That's what happened to me earlier today.
you and your brain
But
fog.
thank goodness I can
So, so
blame something now.
So Jen, we mentioned in the intro that you're into and you mentioned yourself you work with integrative health when it comes
Right.
to your practice. I mean, I always talk about integrative health when it comes to thyroid, but the concepts are the same when it comes to integrative health and holistic health. So how do you kind of introduce that to your patients? You say, or they seek that out. They see, okay, so Jennifer Sierra, she works in a holistic realm. This is where I want to go. Or there's some patients that are just like, what is this?
Yeah, there's definitely more awareness now. So some people do seek me out specifically for that. They want something different, and it really begins right from the beginning as part of my assessment. I don't just look at symptoms. I ask about, sleep patterns, nutrition, movement, spiritual practices, how they're doing in their relationships, and how they're caring for their body, because all of it is interrelated. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah, we might, and just to give some examples, we might explore if somebody does have anxiety, how sleep deprivation or, blood sugar fluctuations could be contributing. Or for some people, they're disconnected from their values and purpose, and that could be playing a role. So it starts in the beginning, and every session I look at all of those factors, all of those layers, and talk about it, because sometimes, it can open up additional pathways for healing that people haven't considered before.
Wow. It's like peeling away the layers.
Yes,
Yes. Okay. I love that.
And I just think it's so often difficult to see ourselves clearly. Sometimes when we are reflected back by someone like you, Jennifer, I think it does make that self-reflection a little bit easier quite often. So,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think we kind of sometimes deny a lot, right? So just push it down and don't think about it.
yeah.
Bring it to the surface.
Jennifer, we talk a lot on this show. See, I knew she was going to start laughing. I had to look away. We talk a lot on this show about the gut microbiome,
The
and
gut is so important.
it is, and I'm going to be teased later. It's really crucial to our immune systems and to our overall health, as you know. What do you think the role is that our gut, our digestive tract, plays in our mental health?
It's often known as the second brain. There's a direct
Exactly.
connection, and your mental health can have an impact on your physical health. Sometimes it can worsen it, and your physical health can have an impact on your mental health. So it is very much connected.
They go hand in hand. And I kind of imagine you might see patients who self-medicate, whether it's with food, which can affect our gut, either too much or too little, maybe drugs, alcohol, excess anything. So from your point of view as a therapist, so someone who's dealing with kind of self-medication, whatever it is, I think kind of the root is kind of the all similar. How crucial is it that for them to be working hand in hand with a therapist like yourself to get through that journey and of health and healing?
I think it can be really helpful. It comes up quite a bit when people self-medicate with food or substances. It's very human to seek comfort when you're suffering, and
Right.
it's something that, yeah, it comes up often. And therapy is a place where you can slow down and, address some of those underlying reasons, for why you're seeking support in those areas. And I don't focus so much on the self-medicating behaviors themselves, but rather on, building in more of the healthy things in your life that you're missing, helping people learning how to identify, what their needs are, and healthy ways to build things into their lives that are going to nourish them the way they need to be nourished. And then usually the behaviors, alleviate themselves once their people are able to identify and meet those needs.
And I guess kind of getting to why are they seeking this comfort? What's driving that?
Something
Yeah.
underlying. What do you feel are the connections between mental health and sleep? And I imagine there are strong links, and I'm just thinking people may not be sleeping enough, they might be sleeping too much. What do you see in your practice on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree the importance of sleep. I would say, good quality sleep is the foundation of good mental health. And
Wow.
it's something that I start from the very beginning assessing. And if we don't get adequate quality sleep, it impacts our ability to regulate our emotions at time, to cope with stress. It can make it difficult to concentrate. And it's one thing that I work on, with clients regularly, on good sleep hygiene and self-care practices, but also increasing the self-awareness too, because when you can connect, like, hey, why am I, being so nasty to my friends or snapping at people? Oh, yeah, I didn't get enough sleep last night. So I
Right.
think being able to make that connection is key, so that you can make sure that you're getting that sleep that you need. It makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, I know I'm not the same without a good night's sleep, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you talked about that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Now, so for every patient who does seek help, how many people do you estimate really don't? If you had to like guess, I mean, how many people are out there that, they probably could use? I know it's impossible to quantify, but would you say there's a large percentage of people out there that probably would benefit from working with a therapist?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't really give an exact number, but I
Yeah,
would
it would be
say
impossible, I would think.
too many, definitely. Especially since the pandemic, because we've been having, quite a mental health crisis right now. And
Mhm.
according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 4 people who need help for anxiety specifically receive it. So that's only 1 in 4 people that are actually getting the help that they need.
Yeah, I found in my practice, COVID really did a number on people as far as mental health, stress. I think even like a lot of people were working from home that weren't used to working from home, and that social isolation. I
Yes.
mean, social interaction is actually one of the almost the power nine in the blue zones. That helps us with longevity, that social interaction and not being integrated with other people when you need that connection, that human connection. Not everybody does well working from home, and I still see it.
Yeah, that's true.
In your practice, Jennifer, who is more cognizant that a problem is developing? Is it often the patients themselves, or is it more often their family and friends? And who often motivates folks to seek help?
I think it's a combination of both. It's usually the individual who will finally pick up the phone and make their appointment, but they're usually aware there is a problem because of what's happening in their relationships. So, maybe their partner has expressed some concern, or they're starting to have conflicts at work, or their friendships are suffering. So I would say, the people who most motivate folks to seek help are often the people closest to them, their spouse, their colleagues, their close friends.
Interesting.
They're the ones that are living with the day-to-day reality of the changes, and hopefully brave enough to say something and bring it to their attention. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like it can probably be pretty destructive to relationships and having someone point out that, hey, you're losing friends and you're having issues at work because you have this, it's almost self-destructive, right?
Yeah, yeah, and just, even just making observations, like you haven't, come out lately, or I noticed that you've been kind of down on yourself lately, or really negative. Yeah, just simple observations sometimes can be the wake-up call for people that, they need to reach out for help.
Mm.
Well, that's a great segue because what first steps would you recommend to anyone who has a family member or a friend or if a person themselves is interested in getting help if they're struggling? What would be their first steps, Jennifer?
I would say the first step is talking about it. If you're struggling, don't keep it in. Tell someone that you can trust. It could be a friend, a family member, your doctor. Just talking about it can provide some relief. And same thing for your loved ones. If you're concerned, not being afraid to have those difficult conversations, letting them know what your concerns are and that you're there for them. And that can make a big difference.
Oh, that's for sure.
You mentioned at the start that one of your special areas is in transitions that people go through. And my guess is that there are some triggering events, very common to being human, triggers that are known to foster mental instability. For example, big life changes, lots of transitions that we go through, the death of a spouse or a partner, death or sickness of a child, a sibling, and even a pet's death we know can trigger a deep and really debilitating sense of grief and depression in a person who may not have previously had thought they had any struggles to maintain mental equilibrium. So in your practice, do you see some common triggers that are known to encourage a loss of mental stability? And if so, what are some that you most often see?
Yeah, I think you mentioned a lot of them, and it can even be happy things like a new baby or a marriage.
Oh, what a good
That's
point.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, because your whole world is changed. So it could be hard to navigate that sometimes. So those are some things that I see often, and people tend to be kind of perplexed, but it happens, even big changes can be a little destabilizing. And another common trigger, I would say, is just lack of healthy boundaries. When people have a hard time establishing boundaries, life can feel overwhelming and out of control. So, learning how to have healthy boundaries is something that I spend a lot of time on with my clients.
That's good. I mean, and especially for women too. I feel like we have a tough time saying no. Like, okay, I'll take that extra load on. I'll take, yeah. I mean, I think
Yes.
I think we probably all agree. We've been there.
Yes,
Mhm.
Boundaries
absolutely.
are so important.
They're so important. We can't be everything to everyone, and when we have boundaries in place, we can protect ourselves, protect our resources, protect our time, energy, and our hearts. And yeah, it's huge, and it could be life-changing when people are able to do that for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's the epitome of self-care, isn't it? Like saying, you know what, my plate's full and it's okay to say no.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that I think many of us didn't grow up with, that we
Mm-mm.
could say no. It's so foreign.
Right.
It's wonderful to discover that. And you're absolutely right. In the end, it helps
Protective, yeah.
everyone.
It does. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, you can be someone that does have healthy boundaries, but life happens and there's changes and things need to evolve, and sometimes that could be hard to navigate too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mentioned pet death, and having had many pets, all of them deeply loved. I've experienced pet grief. Do you offer both general grief counseling and or pet grief counseling at all to your clients?
Well, as far as general grief, that's definitely a big part of therapy, because loss is a big part of our lives, and it's not something that most people get to talk about in their day to day. So I definitely honor that in my sessions, and that can be as simple as just marking the end of a chapter in life. Being able to talk about that. As far as pets. It's Pets come up very often in sessions because for some people pets are like family members.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
We know
Yes.
two people. I know two people. Yes.
Yes.
A lot, and lots of people, two in this room. Yes.
Yes, and myself included.
Well,
Yeah,
And
there you go.
Jen
it,
and I
it
love,
yeah,
yeah.
and it comes up a lot also, like an anticipatory grief.
Yeah.
When someone
Oh,
has an aging or sick pet,
Yeah.
that can be really tough. So giving the space to kind of talk about that openly, can be very healing. I don't specialize in pet grief specifically, but it's actually something that I've been going through recently. My Kobe died. He was
oh,
Oh,
18.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry,
he died
I
Jen.
last
love
month.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And
it
Oh,
always is, isn't it?
they're
Yes.
just never gonna live long enough.
No.
Yes,
no,
that's for sure. Well,
yeah,
gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, me
yeah.
too. We completely understand that.
Yeah. I,
I'm sorry, please go ahead.
yeah. And I think like sometimes people are a little cold about like, you
Mm.
lose a pet's a
Yeah.
member of your family and say, oh, it's just a dog, just a cat. But I mean, that was a part of your life. So,
Yeah, and it can be, I was reading recently that for some people it could be as devastating as losing a spouse or a child. And, if you think about it, it makes sense because that's who you're spending a big part of your day with. They're part of
You're
your
right.
that's for
routine,
sure.
they
That's
could
for
be your
sure.
primary source of emotional support. So I actually stumbled upon an amazing resource. It's the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement,
Oh, wow.
and it's beautiful. It has memorials that you can put up. It's an online resource. It has support groups, all things pet related. So it is absolutely something that is very impactful and serious. And yeah, I'm glad that you're asking about that because it's important. And like Dr. Mazza was saying, sometimes people don't understand that. So a lot of people don't have, a place where they can just talk about it.
Right. Oh, we'll have to check. We'll add that to the show
Yes,
notes for sure.
absolutely. We will. Thank you for speaking about that, Jennifer. One thing Dr. Mazza and I do on this show, something we're really proud of, is that we try to break down fear and stigma that stop folks from living their best lives, just like you do. And for example, in our episode 37, it's titled Depression, Anxiety, or Your Thyroid. We discuss getting mental health counseling the same way one would seek help for a broken arm, a broken leg. It's normal, expected, it's necessary, and it's a great thing to do. So I wonder, do you find that very unnecessary stigma and shame that are somehow associated with with seeking mental health and having mental illness, does that still prevent some folks from seeking help, do you find?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, I think it's definitely has gotten better, but it is still very much out there, and a lot of times it can be, a cultural. Sometimes
Oh, yeah.
there people, associate it with like a moral failing,
Mhm.
and so you can imagine,
Right.
if somebody sees that, or that's what is, um, they think is what happens if you do have mental health, and they don't understand that it's actually something that's a treatable condition. It makes
Right.
sense that there would be a lot of shame there, and stigma for sure.
Gotcha. That is, I can't agree with that more, Jen. I mean, it's important to take that stigma away, of course, but and many people need help. They're afraid to seek it for one reason or another and would definitely benefit from counseling. So let's try and like demystify the process, make it less scary. So if someone wants to start seeing you, Jen, for counseling, do they call the office? Do they go online? Do they fill out the usual medical forms?
Yeah, so they could uh, call and set up an appointment that way, or they could visit my website and contact me through there, or schedule an appointment directly through my website. And then from there, I always do a free 15-minute consultation,
Okay.
and that is helpful just to allow us a little bit of time to get to know each other, and I can find out why they're considering therapy and answer any questions that they might have. And then if they feel comfortable at the end of the consultation, we schedule the appointment, and I send them the intake paperwork that they can fill out before the appointment.
Okay. So if the potential patient feels like kind of not ready to start the process, but wants help, can they ask like a family member or a friend to do it for them? And can they bring that person with them? Or even say like an emotional support animal to their sessions if they feel like that's going to be the best way to get them to you for help.
Yeah, I definitely always encourage people to reach out for help if they need it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of family members that will contact me first to find out
Mhm.
about services. Ultimately, of course, the decision will need to be theirs. But seeking help for that first step is a great idea, because that first step can sometimes be
Yeah,
the most intimidating for sure. Yeah, and emotional,
you name it, like a dog, a cat.
absolutely. I think all pets are emotional support, and I have my poodle with me right now. She's sleeping
Aww.
soundly next to me, and I welcome fur babies in session if that's going to make somebody feel comfortable. Absolutely.
What if they want to bring their horse, Jen?
I would be fine with that. I would be absolutely fine with that. Yes, that could be fun. Sure.
I tried very hard not to laugh right there, but I had to get that visual, and that's
You
very
have the space for the horse.
wow. That's that's great. So you offer online consultations too, Jen. Do you have some patients you've never met in person?
I do actually, because I am 100% telehealth. And, it actually works, out beautifully. A lot of my clients like the telehealth because they get to be in the comfort of their own home. So that can
Right.
help alleviate a lot of the anxiety.
So, like when you determine like a plan of care, does the patient decide how often they want to see you, or do you kind of like decide on that together, or I mean, how does that work?
We usually decide on it together once I complete the care plan. I have a better idea, and I do ask in the beginning that clients commit to 4 sessions weekly
Okay.
consecutively because that just gets the momentum going and it can help establish the relationship. But then from there, we can go to every other week and, of course, base it on their progress and what their needs are.
And once they do begin working with you, Jen, what does a typical visit look?
It definitely, of course, varies, right? But it depends on, how the person is doing in the moment. But I usually always start just by checking in. And if someone comes in, feeling really anxious, for example, we might begin with a relaxation exercise together to help them settle. And usually we do breath work. And then once we're grounded, I usually review where we left off from the last session, and I have a loose outline of what the plan is for the day. But I always give space to ask if there's something that is pressing that they would rather focus on. And then to close, we usually review what we covered. We highlight any insights that come up and discuss practical ways that they can implement whatever it is that they've learned into their daily life in the upcoming week.
Very cool. You give them something to work on for the week. Yeah. Now, do you feel sometimes, I know I always try and manage expectations. Do you feel like sometimes patients have unrealistic expectations of what to expect?
For sure. I think that's very common because everybody wants to feel better right away, right? I mean,
Right.
you can't
That's
blame
the
them.
society we live in, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I really try to do a good job from the beginning of just letting them know what the therapy process is because it doesn't happen overnight. And, a big part of the healing component is the relationship, and relationships take time to develop. So I think I do a pretty good job of letting people know and then also, once the assessment period is complete, usually within 2 to 3 sessions, I have a better idea and I can set their expectations. But it's something that is ongoing, an ongoing conversation that we have, and I check in with them and ask them how they think it's going. So I think that helps.
Oh, for sure. I imagine, yeah. Well, it sounds like you communicate with them. You collaborate with your patient. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think there's a secret sauce, Jennifer, to any successful counseling relationship? Do you feel there's really a key element on both sides that really has to happen for this to work?
Yeah, I definitely think trust is big and just being genuine. I show up as myself, flaws and all. I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to, and people usually respond well to that. And in time they can open up, and that's where, the magic happens is when they're able to trust and open up.
Got you. And what you do is hard. It's hard listening to people like all day long and kind of trying to stay focused. How do you manage to kind of stay whole and mentally well while trying to help others on a day-to-day basis? What's kind of your self-care?
Yeah, so for me, first and foremost, I would say my faith, making sure that I'm putting God first. That's what gives me peace and
Mm.
direction. And, then from there, I practice all the same things, I emphasize with my clients, just getting good sleep, moving my body, eating well, and, being very intentional about scheduling time with my friends and my family. And, I have ups and downs like everyone else. And when I notice I'm veering off course, I just focus back on the basics. And when there are times that I'm struggling and I can't do it on my own, I ask for help. I think that's definitely key and I'm grateful. I have a really great support network, so that definitely is a big part of it.
So you walk the talk. So you
Wow,
yeah.
I am
Yes, you
really
kind of have
impressed.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, because if not, it'll show. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That was a great answer. Jennifer, what do you wish that folks knew about mental health that they really don't and that they don't think to ask?
I think that just knowing that there's no such thing as normal.
Mm,
I really wish more people understood that everyone has their struggles. Most people are doing the best that they can. And, I think a lot of people spend a lot of energy just trying to figure out if they're normal or if what they're experiencing is normal when, really the question should be, is this working for me? And, am I able to live the life that I want to live?
mm. I love that. Well, Jen, we never manage to cover everything that we want when we have a guest on. So, what would you like our listeners to know that we haven't, that we've missed, or you'd like to reiterate, because it's so important?
These were amazing questions, by the way. I feel like we covered a lot of great things, and I guess I would just reiterate, having those conversations regularly with your loved ones, how they're doing, and being able to speak freely if you notice shifts
Mhm.
in their behavior, so that it just becomes part of those mental health check-ins that you can have with yourself and with the people closest to you. I think that's really important.
I love that.
That was a wonderful answer. And I'm so grateful that you said that about the questions. We really care about our episodes and we really care about the guest and the questions. So I'm glad you
Thank
felt that
you.
way. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
It was just so great to meet you and to talk to you. I'm so grateful that you shared your tremendous wisdom with us. Um, would you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you, and we'll include all of that in the show notes, of course.
Absolutely, yes. And, you know, um, I definitely first want to thank you both for having me on the show. Dr. Mazza, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. As my
Oh,
doctor, you've been a big part of my wellness journey and success. And
oh,
I'm so grateful for all the wonderful resources you have for the community that I now get to share with my clients to help them on their journey. So thank you for that.
Oh,
And, for anyone listening who wants to explore the mental health side of their journey, you can find me at hmhcounseling.com. And you can message me or schedule an appointment there. You can also text me at 407 205 9022. And lastly, you can check out my Instagram it's at hmhcounseling.com.
all right. Well, thank you. And Jen, I just getting to know you over the time, you are just such a beautiful person. And I am lucky to work with you. So
Thank you. Appreciate that.
we appreciate you being with us today and to share your important highlights with us and our listeners. So thank you so very much, Jen.
thank you,
You're
Jen. What a
welcome. You're
delight.
welcome.
What a lovely
Oh,
guest.
I
She
know.
is one of my all-time favorite
She
guests.
really is. And just, we're just so
Delightful.
lucky to have her here in our Central Florida community. So I kind of wanted to bring up this poem that it came to mind when we were preparing this episode.
It's
And you
wonderful.
guys can look it up. It's a great poem we love about being open to life's astonishing array of sorrows and challenges and opportunities. It's by Rumi, Rumi. It's called The Guest House. A translation we're familiar with is from a collection entitled Rumi Selected Poems, published by Penguin Books, 2004. Listeners, you may find this work to be as deeply meaningful as we do. We hope you'll take a moment to look it up.
I sure do because it was just stunning. I love it.
It just
Really
makes
meaningful. Yeah.
sense. So, I wanted to create this podcast, provide life-saving education, and to encourage folks to see a doctor in time to prevent or minimize damage. That is so deeply fulfilling. I enjoy helping folks understand how all aspects of their lives are tied to both thyroid and overall health. As always, my goal is to help us live more fulfilling lives by taking control of our health and thus feel our best. That's why I went into endocrinology. It's a medical art that combines science with the study of our lives and all that they encompass.
And we have many more interesting episodes and guests planned. We'll build on today's foundation and cover many topics we hope you'll find meaningful. And we are still deciding about our next episode, number 42. So I'm just going to have to, TBD, I'm going to have to leave it hanging right there. And so now to recap just some of what we covered in this episode, and not necessarily in this order: a holistic approach to mental health and its connection to thyroid health.
Mental health looks different on every person.
Utilizing horses in therapy for humans.
Mental illness can manifest in slow, subtle ways. It's not necessarily dramatic.
Support and other tools counselors provide can make a huge difference in outcomes.
What does therapy look like? How do I get started? What's the process?
Breaking down unnecessary, dangerous stigma around seeking mental health.
The benefit of therapy when combined with other medical treatments.
And best of all, we know that we can impact our thyroid health.
We sure can.
Dr. Mazza's book, Thyroid Talk, An Integrative Guide to Optimal Thyroid Health, is available on Amazon.
And the online course helps us walk the talk to energize our lives. It's just been relaunched with some great upgrades. So check it out at thrivethyroid.com.
For more information, you can check out thrivethyroid.com or forward your name and email to thyroidtalk.mazza@gmail.com. You can also contact Dr. Mazza's website, metaboliccenterforwellness.com.
For information on some of the supplements we may discuss on previous episodes of the show, please visit the wellness store at metaboliccenterforwellness.com. Full disclosure, I personally use and I carry supplements by Douglas Laboratory and Pure Encapsulations in both my office and at our online site. Please stay in touch. Check out my YouTube channel, the website at metaboliccenterforwellness.com, as well as Facebook and Instagram.
We welcome your input. Please submit your questions, comments, and show ideas to this email address, thyroidtalk.mazza@gmail.com. We may disclose your general location on air, the city or town, for example, but we will not read your name nor your address on the show. We reserve the right to edit your input as necessary.